5:30, we'll call the November 3rd meeting of the Woodley County Consolidated School Board of Trustees to order, and we will begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Almost always my favorite part of the agenda, Summer.
Okay.
We're here. So Jennifer Reed, Director of Innovation at CTE. We're very excited to have you here tonight, and Todd will give you more updates as we continue on. But effective tomorrow morning at 8:20, if not a little bit before, our construction trades classes will be in this building. So they will be doing the classroom over there. This will be their lab space. They've been working predominantly in Radio Grove building up till this point. So now they actually truly do have a home for the time being until, of course, that building is ready. So we're very excited and happy to be here. Appreciate all the work of Chad Birch, Chad Ralston, Todd Fleetwood to help us get to this point. And all of course, my kids and Mr. Krill, really are today. So thank you.
Brady Mullet, Woodley City High School. I just want to celebrate our girls cross country team competed at state and finished 20th. And obviously a great finish. Kenny Leach finished 13th in the state, which was quite an accomplishment. But as a team, 20th, great score. We only have one senior, and even Chad's daughter Lillian ran very well. So it's a great team effort. I also want to kind of just celebrate. We had a great parent-teacher conference turnout. Actually, at the high school, we actually had a really good turnout, a lot of great conversations. I think we actually had more than we've had in years past. Teachers were inviting specifically students who were at risk. I think possibly our schedule helped a little bit, having more people around. Not saying it's a perfect schedule, but it was different than we've had in the past. So we've had a lot more parents just popping in, which was nice to have as well. So we'll celebrate. It's a good turnout, good conversation.
Thank you. I want to thank, piggybacking on Brady, our teachers for their work the last couple of weeks. You know, you have to do a lot of work in preparation for parent-teacher conferences and be able to talk to all the parents and just express how their children are doing. So, and that's on top of the daily work that they do. So I just want to say thank you for that and for their accommodations, rearranging their schedules. And then they had a full day of PD on Thursday. So I want to thank our administrators for all of their planning in advance of the PD, because they led the professional development on Thursday, which was great. We also had two teachers, Sam Rose and Gina Johnson, who are CPI certified teachers, who led the CPI renewal training for all of our staff. And I think we had 30 some staff in each session. So we had a morning session and an afternoon session for the renewal. And then Sam Rose, Gina Johnson, and Carrie Crady are going to do all the initial training for, there's about 30 some teachers, November 12th and 20th. So just because, again, that's on top of their other duties, their roles as teachers. So they took that on and did it well. I heard nothing but compliments about what went on, both for parent-teacher conferences and for our PD day on the 30th.
Other celebrations? I have one. I want to thank and celebrate Jill for all the work that she does on policies and reviewing letters and my emails. And I have a gift for you that I would like.
I'm sure this is not.
I would like you to show this to everyone.
I'm trying to reform myself and not do that. It depends on it, Jill. You can't reform. Correct. Is it more grammar police? I already have a grammar.
You have one of those? I'm disappointed. Is it the school color?
No, mine isn't quite this good. This is really good. Grammar police to serve in Illinois.
To serve correct.
You're very welcome.
I love it.
I knew you'd
I'll wear it, I'll treasure it always.
appreciate it. Move on to public comment. Peter?
Afternoon all. This is Peter Daniels. Mr. Smith, I still need that information you told me you gave me last year. Or do you have a complete lack of integrity and don't plan on living up to your word?
I would ask you to address the board as a whole.
No, Mr.
Not
Smith, this was
anyone.
directly aimed at you because you were the one that was involved.
I would ask you to address the board as a whole.
Yeah, well, I'd like that information. So which one happens first, we'll see. Or do you have a complete lack of integrity? Regarding Ms. Devine, the information I gave you, because I gave it to you, lines up with the lawsuit she's filed with you to include case studies, laws, and other things. So I want to know why this board hasn't done anything to fix the situation. Y'all are trampling on someone's civil rights. How would you, sir, like that be told you can't speak up in public? You wouldn't. It's not what America's built on. Or you, sir, or you, ma'am, or any one of you would not take it kindly. So why are you doing it to someone else when you have no authority to do so? I see a lot of gray hair around here. It means you're supposed to be wise, and you are not. You are neither intelligent nor wise to continue to do something that you do not have the authority to do. Now, money. Last time I was here in front, listening to the board, you all were complaining about money in 2027, either school year or fiscal year, that you were having a lot of issues. So what have you guys been doing to try to fix that or try to game it out and try to avoid that? Because you all also talked about imposing a special tax or increasing a tax to get around that. In a normal family, just like you, sir, like me, like any one of us, you start running into a money crunch, you turn around and you reevaluate, what am I spending money on? Where's the fat that I can cut? What are my priorities to make sure I keep a roof over my head and food in my stomach, and for the same for my family? So where are your plans and procedures or your proposals to do that? Because you got time, or are you going to do like every other government organization I've ever seen and wait till it's a time crunch and figure that the crisis is going to push it through and say, oh, we'll fix it later?
15 seconds.
Y'all got time now. Fix it now. Don't wait.
That concludes public comment. Move on to agenda items. Mr. Fleetwood, update on Radio Road property.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Smith. As Jennifer said, we are glad to be in this building, finally. I know it's been a while. But Chet and Chad are in the audience tonight too. So we bought this whole facility back in December, if you remember. And they started construction in March of this year. It is estimated that they completed about 85% of the work that was in this building. 15% was done by local contractors, HVAC, plumbing, the concrete, and the sidewalk and excavating was just done last week. So that is fresh. And actually our grounds crew just seeded today. So we're hoping to get some grass growing a little bit, at least before next spring. But I know I kind of missed the highlights earlier, but to highlight Chet and Chad and they basically, this was their job the last 6 months, 7 months, was renovating this place to the point where, I don't know if a lot of you probably didn't see it before, but I know one of you mentioned, are we going to keep that building? So it is crazy how having assets like them that can do the work in-house and have the commitment to it to be able to do something like this. It's estimated that we saved about $200,000 by having them do the work in-house. So if we would have hired this building out, you know, it would have been an additional $200,000 that we would have spent to renovate this building. So kudos to the guys. Can't say enough about them. They do great work. Again, the walls, pretty much everything that you see is new except for the insulation and the ceiling. But everything that you see, there's a couple windows that want replaced, but you know, all the walls, insulation, they sealed the roof. It was leaking, as you can see, everywhere in here. So they were up on the roof, sealing the roof. We haven't had a drop in here since then. So they painted the whole outside of the building as well. So they put all new electrical service in, and all new plumbing. As you can see, those bathrooms were not there before. They actually were over here in this concrete circle. Well, I don't know if you call it a bathroom, but there was some sort of a bathroom there that was there before. So that was all new. Ran all of the power into the corner back here in the utility room. So, and then redid all of the classroom in there. We had Brad Nelson and Vicky Borders from Marshall. Our custodians came out last week and today to clean. They scrubbed the floors, the windows and so forth. So, and again, like I said, Grounds was here today exceeding it. So hopefully as a board, you feel good about being able to do something like this in-house, because it was definitely a team effort. Chet and Chad definitely put a lot of time into it. But like I said, you know, Vicky and Brad and Brian Bills and his crew also put into this too. So it definitely was a team effort to be able to put this together and have the kids moving in tomorrow. I know that Jennifer and I have several conversations. Okay, when's it gonna be ready? So we got hung up a little bit with the state wanting to get their approval process in it. So the state has approved it, and locally the city has also approved occupancy of this building. So so students will be able to have classroom in this building. And like Jennifer said, they'll be in this building as construction is going on over with the big building. And then eventually they'll move over there into their new space. But they'll be on site while that's going on over there too. So that was the plan, to get this building renovated and get them ready to be over here. Speaking of the larger building, just giving you an update there. As you can see, there's been a lot of work being done so far. You approved a couple months ago the roof project for the Radio Road building. That will be pretty much done this week as far as the roof. So it'll be dry. I don't know when the last time this building was dry over there. I know it sat for how many years, 10, 15 years. And it was probably wet every time it rained. And I don't know if is it dry now? So that should all be done this week. And then the metal coping will take about 3 or 4 weeks to get the metal in for them to put that up too. So the roof will be done this week for the most part, and then the coping will be done in about a month. So surprisingly, that project is on schedule, which I don't know if I've ever said that before. Usually it's double the amount of time that it takes to get something done. But it seems like with this project, a lot of people are wanting to be a part of it and spend the time and the commitment to get it done. So, so that's a good thing. Cost savings over at the larger building. Boy, the kids and Dan, they've done a lot of demo over there. And then of course, Chet and Chad too. They've also done demo all the electrical, which I think that saved us alone $75,000 of just doing all the demo electrical over there. So if we didn't do that in-house, that was another $75,000 that we would have to have paid someone else to come in and do. And then with the kids demoing a lot of the walls and insulation and all that, we're estimating that that's about a $200,000 savings that we've seen so far from the kids. And again, a lot of you probably have seen it, but I don't know how many dumpsters we've carried out of here. But again, that's another big savings that by using our own in-house crew and also our students, having them on site, all of this kind of helps with the larger piece of it. It's getting them the experience of demoing and seeing maybe how something shouldn't be built or how it should be built. And then now they're going to be able to see actually contractors come in and actually build it back. So they're kind of seeing the whole gamut there. So that's exciting for the kids to see that.
So it's almost $500,000.
Yeah, by in-house and with the kids. I know they worked over here some too, with some demo and some of the smaller projects. So yes, we're pushing $500,000 just in savings by between the two buildings. So FCI, which you also approved earlier in the year, is our construction manager. So we've been working with them and our architects and engineers to develop the specs for the building. And so right now we're getting close to bidding them out. So November 12th and November 19th will be the 2 dates that the bid will be advertised in the paper. Again, this is for the big building minus the roof. So you got all the major contractors, the HVAC, the mechanical, electrical, concrete, what's some of the other carpentry, painting. I think there's like maybe 10 trades that we're going to be bidding out to finish the larger building. Yeah, and we're going to do a lot. So we're still working with them, and I know the kids. Jennifer's been talking with FCI to make sure who we're using as a contractor on the site, that they're open to allowing the kids to be a part of the work that they're doing. So while the kids are here, might as well use this for experience with them too. So that's one of the factors that why we went with FCI, is that they're open to allowing kids to be a part of their work. And then bids will be open on December 4th at 2 p.m. And we're expecting to bring bid approvals to the board on December 19th. So that's coming here soon. And then we're hoping after December 19th, if you approve the bids, that work will be starting first of the year, as soon as they can mobilize and get on site, so that we can get this project going and get it done. I know Jennifer's wanting it done by August, and I sure hope it is, but we need to get started on it. Yes. So let's see, I think I covered all my notes here. Sorry, I was kind of jumping around there, but any questions on this building or the bigger building? I know we've got guys here too.
Parking lot. So it's going to be asphalt, stone, concrete.
As of right now, we're looking at gravel, stone, just to kind of help with cost. So if we do have money left over for whatever reason, we would look at that. But right now we're looking at gravel. So they're going to be taking, I think they're even saying 10 to 12 inches of dirt off and backfilling that with gravel, because we're going to have semi trucks, we're going to have a fire truck, we're going to have larger trucks traveling through here. So we'll make sure it's the ground stable. A lot of the site work will be all regraded. As you can see, there's open swells and for drainage and so forth. So all those will be tied in underneath, and a lot of the up around the building will all be filled in. So we're going to send all the water down to the river. So right now it's kind of choppy with so when you're leaving tonight, make sure you look to see where all the ditches are and everything and so forth, when you're coming out of here. So you don't get stuck.
My other question is,
Yeah.
Kids will be here next week.
Tomorrow. Well, they're here now. They're working over there, but they're going to be moving in here. They kind of just park wherever right now.
Where we park, it's going to be muddy here.
It will be. So they've been parking over on that side, I think, Jennifer, right?
They've been parked in the front of the building as well, along the west side. That's right, they really don't stay on the east side very much.
We just parked over there just because it's somewhat close for everyone, and we knew it was gonna be dry, so if it was wet out, we probably would have parked up front and then shuttled you guys back here, but that over there will probably be parking, I'm assuming. And then we're trying to clear out a lot of the brush overgrowth on the west, because it goes like 60 feet into that brush level. And so if we can kind of bring back some of that as parking and driveway over there on that side, so that'll give us more parking on the west side of the building too. So that's one of the packages that we're gonna be bidding out, and we're hoping that one will start sooner than later, just because, you know, the weather coming as well too that we know of. Any other good questions?
Maybe a little late in the game, but would you consider, I would have considered this property almost abandoned and almost brownfield.
Mhm.
Are there grants out there that we haven't explored? I know we're working with the folks at RDC from, I don't know if we approached the city RDC, but we have approached the county RDC.
For presentation.
Yeah, okay, good. So we have those lined up, but it seems like since we're taking an unusable property
Mhm.
and making it usable.
Maybe, I mean, we can certainly look at that, I guess,
I don't know if the mayor would know grant might be available.
because if we wouldn't have bought this facility, you know, with the trail, can you imagine what this, you know, this is, I'm just looking at the photo up there with the building like it is. I mean, that, I still can't believe that's how it looks compared to when we bought it. Yeah.
We want to be, one thing is the use of the term brownfield, which would indicate some we were
And there's
very
not, yeah.
diligent about that.
Yeah.
Yes, there would
Yeah,
have
wrong
been.
term.
Right, and there would have been, right.
Yes, there would have been. So we did, actually, that's a good point. We did look into that when we were buying it. And if there was issues in the soil, there was grant funding for that to help us cover that cost.
I guess it triggered something when we said we had to regrade everything and change everything around. And, oh, man.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
I
You
just
don't
have
have
a
to say
few
that.
things. First
Yeah,
of all, kudos to Chad and Chet. Chad and Chet. Sounds like a cereal or something. Great job. Kudos that the pictures are wonderful. And then it's exciting. What a wonderful time. And then I guess maybe I missed this. My general question, once we're fully gone, this building and the one next door, what's a ballpark amount of kids that'll be working around in here? Is it 100 kids, 200?
I would say on any given moment in time, at least 100.
100. Okay. I just was curious. I wasn't sure what our population would be here when it's all done.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we have it spec'd so that we can get close to that 100 out parking wise, because you know, right now it wouldn't handle 100 parking spots, but a lot of that frontage will be cleared out so that we can get as many parking in front, and then, like I said, on the sides too. But yeah, this will be a place, I mean, there'll be a lot happening here. So, and then we got the trail already set up, which is a nice feature for the city. So this was, I know at one time when we talked to the mayor, this was an eyesore of the community. And it's not gonna be that anymore. And it's already, I think people are already making comments as they're walking the trail, how well, at least this building looks.
I saw several, I was sitting facing that wall, and I saw a number of people walk by, so trails already seems.
Yeah.
And I would say Columbia City Redevelopment has talked about things like coming into town on 9 from the south is just not a good look. And you'll notice there's been some trees planted, and they're trying to do some things to spruce it up. So, you know, although they're not real excited about the fact that there's no tax revenue from this anymore, they're very pleased that that we're doing what we are with it and fixing it up, making it, which is a good reason to back to them and say, okay, now.
Right, exactly.
I'd like to echo just thanks for everything everything that everybody has done to make this happen. When we first toured the building, trying to make a decision whether to approve the purchase, it was pretty rough. And, you know, glad that there are people with vision that could see what it could be, and especially that building over there. So just really appreciate all the work.
Other questions, comments? Thank you, and gentlemen, thank you for what you're doing. I mean, we you know, to me, this goes beyond our CTE programs. It's going to be a wonderful experience for our kids. Just getting it done, it's going to be a wonderful experience for them to have the facility, but this also opens up space at the high school. Some of these programs take up a lot of room. It opens up space to support other programs beyond school. So this is a real win for our kids and our community. Mr. Fleetwood, insurance renewal and cost update.
Yeah, just wanted to update everybody. So the SCBT, the School Employee Benefit Trust that we're a part of, there's about 12 schools of that trust that we kind of pull together and have provide health insurance, dental and vision. The health insurance renewal rate increased 4% for 2026. Last year it was 3%, and for 3 years prior to that was 0. So in today's industry, that's still relatively pretty low of an increase that we have for our staff. It is an increase, which I know that, but compared to others that I've heard double digits, wanted to let you know about that is a 4% increase for our health insurance. It's about, we spend, just shy of $4 million on health insurance, just to give you an idea of what the cost of health insurance for our employees. That's our portion of it, the school's portion. So to the district, it's about $122,000 increase, is what that looks like on the large scheme of scale. So.
Is any of this self-insured? Because I indicated to the board that I thought a part of it was questioning that. Is any part of this self-insured?
Not. I guess with a trust, it's kind of hard to. I would it's probably its own category. I mean, with being in a trust, like if we looked into that probably 4, 5, 6 years ago, it seems like, as far as, because you can get out of the trust, and we looked at going self-insured, and some schools do. It is a little more risky because now, you know, depending on claims, you know, one large claim could put you under. So we have what's called stop loss carrier insurance with a trust. So anyone that hits over $150,000 per year, the stop loss carrier kicks in and helps cover those expenses for the trust. So it's kind of more of a hybrid, I would say, self-insured, but it's not fully insured either. So yeah, I would say it's more of like a hybrid from what we have. And then also just want to let everyone know too, the dental and vision insurance, there is no change. We negotiated, I think 2 years ago to do a 3-year rate lock. So in 26, there'll be no increase to dental and vision as well for staff. So any other questions on insurance?
We'll move on to Seth's favorite activity, the school calendar.
Yeah, thank you. This is the most exciting part of my job. In front of you, I gave you guys 2 copies of the calendar. The maroon and gold version is the version that the board preliminarily approved last December, sort of as a looking forward, but also recognizing that we were doing something a little bit different this year with fall break, with parent-teacher conferences, and wanting to come back and revisit that after we had kind of lived that world and gotten some feedback from our staff. So last week, the calendar committee met. We talked through sort of what the start of the school year looked like, how it felt. We talked through fall break, what some preferences were. We talked through parent-teacher conferences and kind of what the perception was of that. And then we looked at other dates on this calendar. Winter break, if you notice in December on this calendar, is not 3 full weekends. It starts on a Tuesday. So there was some feedback as to whether we wanted to keep that or not. The other piece of this is with the way iRead testing now goes, the state has some parameters that we have to adhere to with summer school, with the new iRead window in June, which is the third opportunity, which didn't exist when this calendar was adopted. We only had 2 opportunities that the state had told us about. So there are some other things at play. So we wanted to revisit this and kind of talk through what that would look like. And so the blue version that I've given you kind of has the revisions in it that the committee talked about. Mr. Moore, you were part of it. Mr. Rensselaer, you've talked with us a little bit about this as well. And taking in some of that feedback and then looking at some other opportunities. So you'll notice, I'm just going to go through the highlights on the drafted version that we'd like to bring before the board for approval here at our next meeting. And any feedback you guys have, we'll go back to the committee. We're going to meet again on Monday, make final revisions, and I'll share that back out. So you've got an updated version based on, again, your feedback and what the board is sharing. So you'll notice on this revised calendar, the first student day is August 12th next year. So we have two staff work days, the 10th and the 11th, and then we start on a Wednesday. The last couple of years, we've utilized flex days at the start of the year. The feedback really was that teachers would prefer to have work days rather than PD days right before school starts. Partly too, the piece of information we got was it's hard to talk about student achievement before you've had the students. And so we pulled those out, and we've talked about where else could we drop that in later in September, potentially in early November, to kind of reposition that 5th flex day. So you'll notice on this calendar, there's only 4 flex days in it. So we do have a flex day we could still drop in here based on sort of how tonight's conversation goes and what the committee says. September, we've got one of our flex waiver days, PD days, on September 25th. That's sort of a day to, again, redirect, talk through our MTSS process, do some early interventions, phone calls with parents, those sorts of things. First quarter ends on this calendar on October 9th. We do still preserve a 3-day fall break here. You'll notice on this draft, and this is really one of the pieces that I want feedback from you on. So I'm going to pause here in a moment. On this draft, students will attend school on Monday the 12th. They'll attend school on Tuesday the 13th. And then we'll do parent-teacher conferences after school on the 13th and on the morning of the 14th with fall break for families or for teachers starting after lunch. So teachers will work one long day and then a half day to follow. What we've gotten feedback on is, do we shift that to Monday, Tuesday? Monday's a student day. Parent-teacher conferences run late on Monday and then a half day on Tuesday, with the Tuesday afternoon being just work time, collaboration time. Do we move parent-teacher conferences later in the month or potentially into September? Those are the questions. So I'm going to stop here. You guys have heard from the community. What's your feedback on fall break? What would be your preference on fall break, if there's any?
Fall break is something I have had some comments on from the community. Parent myself, so I guess I get to weigh in some regards. I don't know that this would be the time to maybe think about a full week fall break. Certainly it was brought up. Also keep in mind the calendar, that is like 1,000 different opinions trying to agree on certain things. Guys, this is not easy. I applaud Mr. Slater for keeping a tent on the circus, I guess, in a way. But I've had people ask about fall break. I had some teacher conversation about that, good and bad, for a fall week or a full week for fall break. I know other districts around us do that. The good news about that is that it provides a balance. Pro would be like, you got a fall break for your spring athletes, they get a fall break. You know, when you're a baseball track person, spring break, you're in your sport typically. It is a cheaper time to leave if you're looking for a vacation, spend time with family. But I also heard negatives that if we do a fall week break or a full week of fall break, it's like you're starting school earlier, and not a lot of people like to do that, or you're going later. So I mean, there's a plus and negative to any of those kind of decisions. So I just thought I would bring that up. I know it's something some people talk to me about, but I don't know what the rest of the board would say about that. And also keeping in mind, I know Jennifer brought up, think about what other districts that were involved with CTE was a good comment, or what other places are doing, you know, because we're not looped in maybe to that. I don't want to speak for Mrs. Reed, but like, we're not looped into having the exact dates, but it's nice to consider that. Like we do with our spring breaks in a good spot. It's pretty much everyone around here has that same spring break. So fall break's a tough one for me. I'm used to a full week fall break. I've done it for 12 years now, and boy, do I love it. But that's just me. I don't want to speak for everybody. You know, I love it. I get a chance to go someplace that is half off of what spring break prices are and still take my family or do some of those things, which is nice. But I also know that rightfully so, some people don't want to mess with, no one wants to start school in July or something crazy, but you know, it's just something I wanted to throw out there to get some discussion rolling on what people said. And Mr. Slater had some really good compromises or what we're thinking about possibly doing if we do or don't with the full week fall breakers. Parent teacher conferences in there, does that kill your attendance? If people are going to take off a day or two ahead of time, so a lot to consider there.
For me, if you're going, I really don't, I don't have a lot in fall break one way or the other, but I don't want to extend the school year. I mean, the school year already starts early August, at least this calendar ends in May. If you're going to extend the fall break, I'd ask you to move spring break, so you could cut a day off somewhere, so we're not making the school year long. I mean, think about it. Kids are, summer's almost already gone. Their summer is almost non-existent as it sits right now. So give the kids some summer.
Do you do any type of a survey or put it out there just to get all of the teachers and families?
We did a survey, spring of 24. And I think we got about 500 total responses between staff and families. So there wasn't a ton of responses. And fall break was 50-50.
I
You know,
thought I remembered that.
yeah, like there wasn't, the data really wasn't, we want to do this or we want to do this. I think teachers, families, everybody wanted to start as late as possible. And starting the 12th, 13th, 14th is like, we look at Warsaw's calendar, I think they're starting on August 6th next year. A lot of the Allen County schools, staff are coming back August 4th, 5th, and school starting as early as the 10th. Whitco and Smith Green are the 12th and the 13th, so we would align there. Fall break for Whitco and Smith Green are similar. Whitco has a full week, Smith Green has 4 days. And they do the parent-teacher conference thing Monday, Tuesday, teacher workday Monday, Tuesday, as well. So in almost all respects, this is the exact same calendar as Whitco and Smith Green. Fall break is the lone difference, and where we have a couple of the flex days built in. James, to your point, we're ending school. Our last student attendance day is the 25th, which is a Tuesday. We could still, if we extended fall break, and Brady and I talked about this, creates imbalance in our semesters a little bit, unless we mess with that semester day. We could still have students actually attend on the 26th, and in theory, we'd still be done with our teacher contract by Memorial Day. So we still have a day or two that we really could play with if we wanted to, either extending fall break or dropping in additional breaks in the calendar somewhere as well.
I'm going to chime in, address a couple of things on the revised calendar here for the parent teacher conferences there in October.
2 half-days for parent-teacher conferences, leaving the teachers essentially are getting home at, I don't know, 1. So they have the 15th and 16th, which, you know, they're not really getting a break. I do worry having 2 half-days that a lot of parents and families are gonna turn that into a full week off no matter what you do. Because they're gonna go, oh, Monday, Junior doesn't have to go, let's just get to Hawaii and have some fun. So that's the first thing I really don't like that. I like seeing, not just because my wife's a teacher, but let's give them a full 3 days. Bringing them then in just for 4 hours or 3 hours, that's kind of silly when they could leave the night before or whatever. The second thing is the Martin Luther King Day, it needs to be a holiday. It should not be any part of the snow makeup day. We have people in this community that would absolutely appreciate that. We should do that like most corporations do outside of Whitley County, to put it bluntly. I think that needs to be a holiday, first and foremost. Sorry. I feel that way. I felt that way for 10 years.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon across multiple school districts.
Is there I don't know this, is there a reason, do we have to have a snow makeup day? Do we have to offer that?
No, we, at one point, and we're gonna verify that too with what the state has done, because the state's changed a little bit with synchronous learning and e-learning, which previously wasn't there. Previously, you had to have 5 snow makeup days built into your calendar in order to qualify for the exemptions or waivers, you know, if we needed more than 5. I don't know if that's still the case because of synchronous learning and how that can play out. And realistically, to change the 18th to a holiday and not have the snow makeup day, most of our cancellations happen in a normal year, February, early March, or late January, February, early March. So we could easily
know what you're
miss that
saying.
day, but to set it aside and say it's just a day off is something we could do.
It was the appearance of it.
Yeah. With synchronous days too, then that's the other question is, do we even need snow makeup days? Because if our kids can just attend virtually live, a lot of school districts have completely dropped snow makeup days altogether. And, you know, you're just working on the contingency of how many days in a row can you sustain in a synchronous environment or in an e-learning, a traditional e-learning. Is that 2 days? Is that 3 days? You know, special education has concerns about what loss of services might look like. We're not doing some things differently, but I mean, to that point, we'll have to look and see if there's a state minimum in order to qualify for waivers, if that would be the case. But my gut tells me probably not any longer because so many districts have moved away with the advent of synchronous learning.
Right.
Didn't they limit the number of days you can do that though?
So we can do synchronous learning as much as we want. E-learning, which is the asynchronous, sort of the old school, get online, do your work without a live instructor, that there's a maximum of 3 that we've got. But the live instructor piece, we could use the word COVID. We could go back to the COVID environment format and just go 6 weeks if we wanted to, which would be awful. But
I do have a question here. Last week when we had the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, how was attendance? I'm just curious. Do we know those figures and how that came back?
yeah, I think attendance on Friday was normal, or as normal as I think, you know, if the family's going to take their student out on a Friday, they would anyway. And I wonder about that Monday, kind of the same scenario. They're going to take the full week. They're going to take the full week and use one of the 10 absences they have anyway.
Yeah.
But I think attendance was normal. Hearing back from a couple of teachers,
I was curious.
a couple said it wasn't as awful as they thought it might be.
Yeah.
That Friday actually wasn't bad. It was just, it was also Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which also created some opportunities for some fun things that maybe wouldn't have had if we had done something different with calendar.
I just wondered how might this go?
Yeah. Any other feedback on fall break?
I'm leaving it all up to you.
Yes.
I think
So much power.
I tell ya,
So
I
much
just
power.
appreciate anybody that's willing to serve. Nobody is popular with everybody, for sure, but no, thank you for tackling.
The only other piece is to note on this calendar, When we look at it, Good Friday is really early next year, so it's on March 26th, which again aligns kind of normally. We'd already set the precedent that we were going to sort of align our spring break with virtually everybody else in the area, which is that first, that last Monday in March, usually whatever week April 1st falls on is sort of the week of spring break. In 27, 28, I think Good Friday falls like April 14th or 15th. So it's going to throw a little bit of a wrench in sort of following that. But that is, again, that's the standard. And then the last piece here, when we look at May, the last student attendance day on this calendar is May 25th. I'd like to preserve it. It may end up being the 26th if we mess with fall break, and kind of give that full 3 days versus the 2.5 days as it is now, which then would make the last teacher day May 28th. And then we'd roll into summer school is on June 1st. And we'd go through our summer school routine in those next 4 weeks.
Everyone feel about graduation on Memorial Week?
And that is a question mark as to could we pull it off that quickly? I think the alternative, Brady, and tell me if I'm wrong, the alternative would be Friday the 4th or Sunday the 6th, depending on.
That's still the question.
Yeah. And the earlier the
I
last,
think it's a little early.
yeah, the earlier the last student day is, the more likely it could be pulled off on the 30th. But I think if we're going to push another week, then we'd probably push it to the 4th.
I have a question. Is this late for finalizing the calendar, or are we pretty much on track?
Yeah, we're pretty much on track. And I think we've changed it a little bit the last couple of years. In the perfect world, we approve 2 years at a time. So we'll approve, let's say, and I'd like to bring you a draft again at the work session in December for the 27, 28 calendar, and then kind of do the same thing and then get that on the website. So we've got sort of a more stable 2-year rolling calendar that we can always revisit, but more likely we'll go in 2-year increments. But I think Smith Green just approved theirs last week. So this is about their time. We can. I mean, once you have sort of a pattern to follow, then just roll through. We can do that. Yeah. I can get the mouse to show up.
That's the show right now, so let's move on to I Learn Check.
I can get my little slide presentation to appear, and my awful eyes on this really tiny screen will go. I know the mouse is as tiny as it gets, but I can see it barely. Okay, so this is just a real quick update on iLearn Checkpoints. So again, as we've shared a little bit, iLearn Checkpoints this year is changing to a through year assessment with the summative at the end. So at the end of October, I guess kind of mid-October, we did iLearn Checkpoint 1 in grades 3 through 8. Just again, a little bit of information about it. So it is supposed to make the end of year assessment shorter. It's supposed to. That's the goal. So each of the formative portion, each of the checkpoints is 20 to 25 questions. Some students got 20, some students got 25. And those checkpoints are assessing 5 standards in checkpoint 1 for like math and ELA, and then checkpoint 2, it's 7 standards for each of the other 2. And the goal is to inform student progress. So as we look at the data, and I'll flip over here to the data a little bit in a moment, but as we look at the data, what we're seeing is how students are doing on those 5 standards and not necessarily on the whole subject, in one fell swoop. So we're also looking at checkpoint 1, 6 to 12 weeks into the school year. So there is no expectation that students are mastering all 5, but there is a small expectation. I'll show you kind of what the next slide looks like. There is an expectation that they understand the standards and that they're getting the questions right that they should be getting right. And that they're going to make some progress on the questions that are at grade level or beyond. So when we look at checkpoint 1, what we're seeing, and this is a good example of kind of the lived experience. So this is a student's results. You can see these are all the questions that student had. I think this is the ELA portion of the test. So there's 2 items, and parents are a little bit confused by this. So this is why it's on the agenda tonight. You'll see on the far left, there's a performance level, and you'll see on the far right, the student performance, and it's either an X or a check mark, or in some cases, it's a circle that's partially filled in. So on the far right is, did the student get the question right or wrong? If they got their question wrong, it's an X. If they got it right, it's a check mark. If they got it partially right, it's a circle halfway filled in. On the left is the performance level of the question. It's the item difficulty really is what it comes down to. So you'll notice for this particular student, the red lines are the questions that are below grade level expectations. So these might be questions, I think this is a 4th grade test. So these might be 3rd grade level questions as to how well the kids do. The yellow is approaching grade level expectations. So again, a student 10 weeks, 12 weeks into 4th grade should start to get most of those right. They should get all the red questions right. They should get most of the yellow questions right. The green is the at grade level expectation. If they're really excelling in that subject, they're probably going to get those right. And then the blue is the above, which is, again, they've already mastered grade level standards, and the blue then is pushing them to higher level, deeper thinking. So what parents have kind of been confused on is that performance level, because there's also in the checkpoints performance level descriptors that tell you how well did your child do, and the descriptors use below, approaching, at, and above. The same descriptive language as the item performance level difficulty questions, which is obviously confusing. So what this tells us a little bit is, in a general sense, how are our students doing on the questions they should get right, the red ones? How are they doing on the ones that I've been teaching, the yellow and the green? And how are they doing on the ones that I haven't yet taught, the blue? And so when parents get the report, what they see is that first page, but then they see the second page. And this one is really the one that tells the story. Did the students get the questions they should have gotten right? You know, that below. How are they doing on the ones that are approaching? How are they doing on the ones that are at? And then obviously you're above. So this tells a little bit better story. The obstacle that we have with checkpoints right now, and there's some growth areas for us as a district, but there's also some growth areas for the state as they're rolling this out in much larger numbers, is that performance level piece tells us 2 things. One, if you've ever played golf, you know that each of your holes has a difficulty level. And a par 3 may be the 7th hardest hole on the course, even though it requires the fewest number of strokes to get there. So when we look at the performance level, what we're also looking at is, did the students get the really hard questions right for other peers at their age level? And so we'll see below grade level performances or performance level standards that are also potentially, based on performance, the hardest questions on the test. And so what Checkpoint starts to do in as simple of a way as we can say it is, it starts to forecast out. How likely is this child going to be to pass iLearn at the end of the year based on how well they're doing on the really hard questions compared to their peers at the start of the year? So this student has a 98% likelihood of passing ELA at the end of the year, even though they missed the above grade level standard, and they only got one question on a standard that's actually at grade level, which is kind of one of the questions teachers have had is, how do I know that this student is actually going to pass because they're not being assessed on grade level standards, they're being assessed on this scenario, third grade achievement, right? So again, there's some peer comparison going on and likelihood based on how others are doing. There's scale scores involved. But as we kind of explain to parents, and as we look at kind of what are we learning from the data, there's a couple of things. One, this is only 5 standards. And so we're looking right now, and I've had some conversations with principals about curriculum alignment. There's a big question out here, and it's a philosophical question, is do we build our curriculum so that it matches iLearn? Or do we build our curriculum so that it matches what makes sense for learning? We could teach the 5 standards, and a number of districts in the state are 100% aligned with, we're going to make sure kids know these 5 standards by the end of October, and then the next 7, and then the next 7. So that way, by the time the summative is, we've taught these 19 or 20 standards, maybe in order, maybe not in order, but we've really taught the standards. So this has shown us a little bit. One thing we're seeing is all of our grade levels, and I'm gonna say Montessori is a great example, do not, like the learning progression doesn't necessarily align with iLearn. Students are learning different things at different times. So they might be learning division and subtraction before they're learning addition and multiplication. And if this is an addition and multiplication test, then they haven't covered it yet. So there's that scenario. So we're looking at that. And there's been some good feedback on the math realignment that we did at the start of the year, or I guess over the summer, at the end of the last year in elementary. We're starting to have those conversations in middle school. We're also looking at some gaps in teaching. Again, the data is here to kind of suggest what's the difference between 4th, 3rd grade teachers, or 4th, 5th grade, or 6th grade, or 8th grade teachers. Sometimes it's different student population. Sometimes it's just out of alignment with how we're teaching. So there's that, but there's also gaps in learning. Different student populations are going to have different performance levels. If we've got high ability clusters in one class, and not really very many high ability kids in other classes, that's gonna way higher than the other. So there's there. And then the last piece that this test is showing us is really that depth of knowledge, because it does have the performance level descriptors, and it does reveal what that expected level is and what that above is. And so as we're going through the alignment process, again, having conversations with teachers now throughout the year on how are we assessing? Are we asking questions that are at the below level? Or are we asking questions that are at the at level? And again, in terms of how we develop our curriculum, we can say it's going to align or not align, but we still need to make sure that our kids are being assessed at the same level of expectation as what the test is showing us. So there is some information coming out of this. Teachers had some good conversations, last week on Thursday about the checkpoint data as far as interventions with kids. And it is, I'm hopeful to see kind of where checkpoint 2 and checkpoint 3 show up, how the averages play out as we go through. But I would say overall, if you want to say averages, we're average with the state right now, for what that's worth. I don't know if it's worth much, because some states have done, or some districts, a lot of districts have done checkpoints. This is their 2nd year because they piloted it last year. And so some are very much aligned with the test and some are not. And so that's, again, a conversation we can have. But we're trending very similar right now to what we did in the spring iLearn in terms of percentages with checkpoint 1. But again, this is 5 standards and there's still 15 to go to be assessed in the bigger picture. So there's some work to do, but there's also, I think there's some opportunities there. The last point, just because this is a public meeting, it's recorded and it's there, and so there's video of it. There is a family portal. Send out access codes for the family portal. Of course, silly IDOE, the links expire after 7 days if you don't click on them, so you don't know what your access code is without contacting your school. But schools all have the access codes, so families can contact those. And I think some of the schools are actually going to send them out again. I will be resending access codes at the end of each test window. So that way families can get back in and see that data as it's relevant and as it's revealed. Most families probably aren't gonna be logging in January to look at the test data. So we'll send it out as we get to that point. That's all I've got. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Is this test designed with rolling questions, like if you are answering them at a certain level, then they'll get harder, or are these questions static?
Yeah, it's not an adaptive test in that same sense. So it's sort of and I'll look and get better information on it. But it's sort of set. When you log in, these are the questions you're going to get out of the whole pool, which was why some got 20 and some got 25.
How are we, thank you for the presentation. I feel like I have a little bit insider that I may not understand formative, summative, and I just did a checkpoint last week or 2 weeks ago. I feel like we have this community of parents that really care and they want to know, they want to help, but sometimes some of this stuff, they don't quite understand it. And I know we've had some issues with the state and stuff and codes. I guess my question is, how are we communicating this to parents in a way that they could all understand and grasp? Like, look, these checkpoints are just formative, you know what I mean? And then boom, here's our summative. So because sometimes I feel they get lost. Oh, I learned. That's a big deal. Like, I don't want to, and we get lost in translation sometimes of some of those things. So I guess, yeah, how are we communicating that with parents? Is there a way that, or is there a suggestion someone has of what we've done in the past, maybe of teach me like I'm 5, give me some like meat and potatoes here so I can decipher what some of this stuff is and really understand it, because I feel like some of our population here, not that they don't want to know, but that's a little bit like challenging, like lots of colors, looks great like a rainbow. Am my kid doing well or not? They might not know. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, so the family portal has an individual student report that's available. It has these 2 pages. And then there's actually a couple of other pages that kind of say, here's what you can do based on your student's scale score, based on the Lexile range. Here are some areas that your student's really excelling on. Here's some areas that they're not. I'll offer that I know principal or elementary teachers, especially, and I'm guessing middle school teachers did as well. I didn't attend a middle school conference, that they went through this, but I know the elementary teachers went through just the general data, sort of this to kind of say, here's how your kids are doing. One of the challenges is the individual nature of it. So I've got 28 students in my class. I've got 28 reports to share. This is what it means for every one of those children, in that one-on-one conversation. I've talked about recording a brief video and sending out to families that kind of just walks through, here's what you'll see when you log in, and here's what it means. Now, is that going to do enough? I don't know if it will, but it at least says here's where to look to see on page 3. Here are areas that your student's doing well at, and here's some areas where they're not. Like this is when you look at the 0% on the bottom, it says, the specific questions, how they did. There's an expandable piece on here too that has the scale score. When we get through the first checkpoint window at the end of next week, the state actually is going to change the report. So right now the report shows performance on the test and just the test. At the end of the window, the report's going to show sort of comparative data. How is my child doing in comparison to their peers at Whitley County? And then how are they doing in comparison to their peers across the state? So once that data is there, then you've got sort of more of the NWA comparison piece that my child's in the 70th percentile versus my child's in the 30th percentile. I think when you have that, then it's a little easier to comprehend where's my kid at on the scale of 0 to 100. So once that comes out, I think I can put the video together and send it out. Because I think that's really important for parents to be able to see. And if they're logging in and seeing what this is now, they're missing that piece. But that'd be helpful.
That would be, yeah. Then we can point, when we get someone to ask, this is a great spot. You can go look and see it right here. Thank you. I like that.
Other questions?
Not, that's the last of the agenda items. Our next board meeting is November 17th, and our next work session is December 1st. Thank you. And we will be heading over, and if we could hold over. We do have third wave on us, so we can get there.
I don't see anything.